The loss of Persephone. True happiness is beyond the reach of gods and men alike. One day all may be well, and the next everything is in ruins. Demeter had often had such gloomy thoughts, but this time a persistent foreboding nagged at her mind as she wandered sadly over the gentle foothills of Olympus. At last she sat down on a rock looking out over the rich greenery which stretched away before her, but her eyes were vague, and her face troubled. Suddenly her thoughts flew to her daughter, Persephone, and her anxiety swelled to anguish. Persephone was her own child, and she loved her more dearly than any other creatures in the world. Some harm has come to her, the goddess cried, springing up as if she had been struck. Immediately a furious wind began to howl and whistle. Then a heart-rending cry drowned the roar of the wind and pierced Demeter's ears. "Mother, they are taking me away!" A terrible, despairing cry, reaching Olympus from far away over the mountains and the seas. It was uttered only once, yet a reverberating echo followed it and brought it back again and again. As it passed through the gorges and over mountains and mingled with the whistling of the wind, so its note changing. Sometimes it sounded like a shriek, and sometimes like a sob, sometimes it re-echoed, and other it sank to a faint whisper. The goddess' head was swimming and her heart ready to burst with anguish. "Mother, they're taking me away!" It was the voice of her only daughter, Persephone. Had 1,000 thunderbolts struck the goddess, they would not have shaken her as much as the cries she heard. Nothing could keep her on Olympus a moment longer. She rose like a startled bird and ran in search of her daughter. Her feet sometimes resting on dry land, sometimes on the waves. "Persephone! Persephone!" she shouted. She ran, crying and searching in all directions until her footsteps at last brought her to the flowery vale of Nysa. There she found a group of water nymphs and beautiful Oceanides, who had been Persephone's best friend, and the goddess ran anxiously towards them, but their eyes seemed to hold no good news for her. "Quickly, good maidens," she cried, "tell me, what has become of my daughter? Who snatched her away?" "Unhappy goddess," came the reply, "we know nothing. We only heard her cry. She was here with us, gathering flowers. Look, here are our baskets. We didn't realize that she had wandered away from us. Then we heard her cry, and that was all." Demeter did not wait to hear any more. With tears streaming down her face, she ran off to continue her search. For 9 days and 9 nights she was looking, but all was in vain. Whoever she asked, simple mortal or mighty seer, the answer was the same. They knew nothing. On the evening of the 10th day, when the new moon rose into the sky, Hecate, the moon goddess, appeared before Demeter and said, "I have seen your suffering, and I have come to help you. Since nobody else knows anything of your daughter, let me take you to Helios, the god of the sun, for he alone among gods and mortals can have seen your daughter snatched away." The two goddesses soon reached the golden courts of the sun and stood dazzled before the great god of the day. When the sun saw Demeter, knew why she had come. "Dear goddess," he said, "I share your sorrow. at the misfortune which has befallen you. What happened to Persephone, however, was the will of her father, Zeus. He gave her to Pluto, lord of Hades, to be his bride. She is now in the kingdom of the underworld and will never again see the light of the day. When Demeter heard those words, her face turned pale as wax, and floods of tears gushed from her eyes, but the sun had more to tell. Persephone was playing and gathering flowers with her friends, the Oceanides, in the flowery vale of Nysa. It was a beautiful spot, with its green trees and sweet-smelling blooms, its warbling birds and laughing waters. Drunk with the beauty of it all, Persephone flitted like a butterfly from flower to flower, not realizing how far behind she had left her friends. But while she was delighted in the beauty of that spot without care in the world, Pluto, lord of Hades, was lying in wait nearby, hidden in the crack of the earth. Suddenly Persephone caught sight of a lovely narcissus whose petals were just opening. She picked it and held it to her face to smell its delicate fragrance. And Pluto, who had watched the whole scene, could restrain himself no longer. With a single blow, he split the earth asunder and lunged forward into the daylight upon his golden chariot, drawn by the immortal coal-black horses of Hades. In a flash he had dragged Persephone up beside him. She scarcely had time to sob, "Mother, mother, they're taking me away," before the horses plunged back into the dark heart, blinded by the light of the day. The sun god saw that as his tale unfolded, so Demeter's misery deepened. He tried to comfort her. "Do not grieve," he said. "Pluto is a great lord, and the kingdom of the underworld is boundless. For the dead far outnumber the living. Your daughter will live in carts of gold, and countless shades of the dead will honor and worship her just as they worship the immortal Pluto, brother of the almighty Zeus, who numbers you among his sisters." But these words only increased Demeter's grief, for she saw that she had lost all was the dearest to her in the world, her only daughter. Everything was clear to her now. And the pain of her knowledge ruined not only her life, but all the beauty she had created. Now nothing could grow on earth, and a frozen north wind raged, stripping dying leaves from the trees and whirling them through the air. Gone were the lovely flowers and the green grass. Gone were the rich ears and the sweet fruit. Nothing was left. People, animals, and birds began to grow hungry and cold, and many of them died. Cries of mourning could be heard on all sides. Everybody begged Demeter to make the earth green again, to make the trees bear fruit, to bring a smile back to the face of the world. But Demeter's grief was so deep that it made her deaf to all cries and all blind to all tragedies but her own. She was so angry with Zeus for giving her daughter to Pluto without considering her maternal feelings that she had never wanted to see Olympus again. Like a mortal mother sorrowing for her lost one, she stumbled blindly over the face of the earth, crying and wailing. In the course of her wanderings, she eventually arrived before the gates of Ulysses. In that spot there stood a well, the Well of the Maidens, which still exists today. Exhausted, Demeter drank a little water, and then sat down upon a large stone, which has been called the Willing Stone ever since. The goddess had been sitting there for some hours, buried in her grief, when she was found by 4 girls who had come for water. They were filled with pity, and at the sight of this weeping woman in black, they asked her who she was and what they could do to help her. "My name is Dio," Demeter replied, not wishing to reveal her true identity. "I come from Crete and I was carried away by pirates, but I managed to escape them, and since then I have been wandering from place to place. Now I have no idea of where I am. If you are from a rich and kindly family, as you seem to be, I am good at many kinds of work. I know how to bring up children, how to care for the aged, and how to set the servant girls their various tasks." "We are the daughters of Celeus, king of Ulysses," the eldest of the girls replied. "Come with us and we shall take you to our mother, Queen Metaneira. She needs a sensible woman to look after our baby brother, little Demophon." And so they took the stranger to the palace. As soon as Demeter crossed the threshold, however, the whole palace was flooded with divine light. As astonished, Metaneira rose to greet the visitor and to offer a royal throne, for she realized that it was no ordinary mortal. Demeter, however, refused to be seated and remained sadly standing there until Iambe, the queen's handmaiden, brought a stool for her. Seeing Demeter's sad face, Iambe began to tell jokes to try to make her laugh. She made such funny faces, so many amusing gestures, and the smile finally appeared to Demeter's lips, and she accepted a cup of wine. For the first time since the loss of a daughter, Persephone, a little happiness had come into her heart. Demeter stayed at the palace of Celeus, and Metaneira gave the goddess the newly born son Demophon to nurse. Wishing to reward the royal couple for the kindness they had shown her, Demeter decided to make the baby immortal. First she took the child into her arms and breathed her divine breath into his lungs. Then she anointed his body with ambrosia and secretly placed him in a lighted furnace at night to make his body everlasting. Unluckily, Metaneira saw her doing this, and thinking that Demeter has gone mad, she let out screams that she alarmed the goddess, who took the baby out of the woman and gave him back to the queen, saying, "Take your child and look after him yourself from now on. I had hoped to make him into a being that will never know how old age and death, and will be honored forever. Now that I am the goddess Demeter, and I wish to thank you for all that you have done for me." As soon as Demeter revealed her identity, the same divine light again filled the palace. The goddess once more appeared in all her former glory, and Metaneira at Celeus knelt before her, and Demeter commanded the king to build her a temple near the spring of Callirhoi at the Ulysses. And there, far from Olympus, the unhappy goddess made her home. In the meantime, however, the earth had become a desert where both men and animals were dying for starvation, and only around Ulysses could a little greenery still be found, and it was feared that these too would disappear. Zeus saw this and realized that he must do something to repair the harm which had been done. He decided that Persephone must return to Earth for half the year to live with her mother and live with her husband Pluto for the remainder of the year in the kingdom of the underworld. And this is exactly what happened. Ever since then, in spring and summer, the mountains and the plains are clothed in green and the earth garlanded with flowers. All nature rejoices, for these are the seasons where Persephone is at his mother's sides. And Demeter too, in her joy, sees to it that the earth is both lovely and fertile. But when Persephone leaves, then the autumn comes and the cold winter. The leaves fall from the trees, and all is miserable and gloomy. For Demeter too, it is said that her only daughter is far from the light of the day, in the inky blackness of the Hades. And so it has continued. Every spring, Demeter welcomes her beloved daughter back, and in her happiness throws herself into her favorite task, trying to sweeten the painful life of man.